So back to how search engines work. Here's an example of, well, let's go back to the website. So here's an example of a website. This is what we see, where we could see this is a website. If we're looking at a normal website, or if we're looking at a website, this is what we see. But if you right click on a website, and if you're on desktop computer, if you're on Chrome or Firefox, so it should work, you can right click and then it should say view page source. And this will pull up the coding, which is what Google sees or the search engine see. They don't see what we see. So they don't see your nice website with all the content in it and all that dynamic stuff. They don't see any of that stuff. They just see the coding. So they have what's called, again, a spider that goes around and crawls line by line, looking at this coding, trying to figure out what this page is about. So Google spider goes line by line through all this coding, and as you can see, there is a lot on this page, but there's only text. There's no more images. Images are gone. Videos are gone. Everything gets stripped down to just text. So this is what Google sees, is just text essentially. And we can see this is a long page of text. And what they're doing is using their robot, or using their spider, which is essentially a robot, to go line by line to read all this code to try to figure out what this page is about. So Google is just a robot. It's not that smart. I know artificial intelligence and all this stuff is being pushed out from Google, but Google is still just a robot right now, and they need you to spoon feed them as much information as possible for them to better understand what your page is about. So the more information you give to Google, the more they're able to decipher what this code is about, because it's kind of like a puzzle. They're looking at all this code, trying to piece it together, and they are just trying to figure out what this page is about. So they go through here looking for essentially English or content. Well, depending on what language you're targeting. If you're targeting the English language, they're going to be looking for more content in English. And they're just going to be reading all this, trying to figure out what this is about. So they can read right here. Here's some text like in-home caregivers of Illinois, be home, be safe, be independent. So Google reads all that. And that is where they're trying to figure out what this page is about. They see in-home. So they're wondering, all right, what's going on in home? Are you selling something in home? Okay, your caregivers in Illinois. Be home, what does that mean? Be safe. What does that mean? Are you working with safety? Independent, be independent. What does that mean? Are you an independence company? Are you working for 4th of July independence, or are you trying to get people to be independent? So they see all this text, but they need more. The more content, the more they're going to be able to read this page and confidently say that this is what this page is about, because without much content, they're just going to be a little, or they're not going to really understand what this page is about, and they're not going to start ranking you unless you have a lot of content on your page. So we could see here, again, there's a lot of coding in here. Don't worry, you don't need to know coding. I don't know coding. I mean, I know basic HTML. Back in 2007, there wasn't really WordPress or Shopify or Wix or Squarespace, so you need to know some coding. But in general, nowadays, you don't need to know coding. If you're able to, with all these platforms, you don't need to look at all this coding. That's why I said at the beginning that it's not that important that you do this yourself. I just want you to see what Google sees, because then you can understand what they're looking for. So if we go through all this coding, let me see if I could show you what happens to images, because images and videos, they just become a clickable link. Let me see if I could show you. So here is an image. So this line of code is an image, and this is what Google reads when they read images. They can't read they can't see images. Google's not able to see images. They're trying to, they're getting better, but Google can't see images. So what they see is this just line of code right here, and this is what your images become. So if I click on this, this will pull up that image. So this is the image that we see, but what Google sees is this line of code. So Google cannot really read images. They're getting better at it, but they have trouble. So what Google looks at when they see images is the file name, whatever you name that file, the image file name before you upload it to your website. Google's able to look at that. So you can see right here, it says in-home caregivers of Illinois.files.wordpress.com/2020/08/caregiving1.jpg. So 𝐂𝐓𝐇1, that's a file name. So when you take your images and you add them to your website, you want to make sure you name them with words that describe what that image is about, because when Google sees that file name, all they see is 𝐂𝐓𝐇1. That's what this image becomes to Google. So if you want to maybe be more descriptive, you could put like family or mother, daughter, smiling if it's family or whatever it may be, but just being more descriptive, maybe like caregiving, mother, daughter, something like that, .jpg. You don't want to throw keywords in there. You just want to make it descriptive. That way Google could read what, or understand what that image is about, because they're looking at that file name for you to really tell them what this image is. They're also looking at the alt tag, but that's a different class where I talk more about that stuff. But just be aware, images just become this clickable link. So images on your website don't really help out with content, because one word caregiving is not that much content, but here we could see is text. So this is what Google's like, yes, please write more of this. The more content you put in here, the more Google can decipher what this page is actually about. So let's go back to your website, and here's your website. So here's content. So content, the more content you put on, the better. So content here. Usually I tell people about 400 words or more per page is ideal in terms of content. That's enough for Google to kind of figure out what this page is about and be confident enough to show you in the search results. The more content you put in here, the better. So if you can write 500 words, 600 words, even better. So here you can see you have a lot of content on your page, which is great. I mean, more content. It doesn't have to be 400 words all in one block. Break it up into multiple sections like you have here, and the more content, the better off you're going to be. It looks like you have a lot of content, so that is great. And the more you put on, the better. I tell people, don't hold back when you're putting content on your website. And you have to put content on any page that you want to rank. So it's not just putting content on the home page, but any page that you want to rank in the search results, you're going to need to put content on it. So the more pages you have that you want to rank, the more content you're going to need to write, unfortunately. So if you have 50 pages, 100 pages, if you want those pages to show up in the search results, you're going to need to write content for each one. The more content you put in each one, the better off you're going to be. Don't really hold back. So when I'm writing content, though, when I'm trying to figure out how much, I know a lot of people are probably saying, Brandon, why are you telling me to write 400 words of content? I specifically made my website so it looks nice aesthetically. I don't want to put 400 words, but this is what Google needs to see. And if Google can't read images or videos and you just have a bunch of images on your website, Google's not going to be able to understand what your page is about, and you're not going to be able to get those rankings. You need to put content. So you could put it anywhere on your website. It doesn't have to be at the very top of your website. Like, I wouldn't say throw the content at the very, very top up here, because a lot of people are going to read it, but I would say throw it down in the bottom of your website, because think about it. How frequently do you go to a website and scroll down to the very bottom? Probably not that often. You're probably going to just go on a website, look to see what you're looking for, maybe scroll down a little bit, but to scroll to the very bottom, most people don't scroll down. So you putting your content at the very bottom, most people are never going to look down here, but Google will read that, because Google reads your website from top to bottom. They'll see that content and they'll be able to understand or give you the rankings higher. And 400 words is the average. The more you could do, the better in terms of content. But the way to kind of figure out how much content you should write is, let's just spy on your competition and see how much content they wrote. Because Google's algorithm, we're not trying to beat Google's algorithm, which I'll talk about in a minute, the algorithm, but we're not trying to beat Google's algorithm. That's not how SEO works. I mean, it'd be amazing if we could beat Google's algorithm, but that's not going to ever happen, because Google changes it daily and it's just not possible. But what matters is we're trying to outrank these 10 websites on the first page of Google. So this website, we're looking at in-home caregivers of Illinois.com. It looks like you're trying to rank for it. In-home caregivers of Illinois. That's on your keyword. So if I go into Google and search for that keyword, let's see who shows up on the first page of Google. So if I search for that keyword, here it is. I'm not going to look at the ads. Skip over the ads. That's not your competition. When we scroll down, we could see the organic results. So here are the ads. You can see the ads. Google tries to hide it. It says ad right up here, or ad here. This is what Google wants you to click on. That's how Google makes all their money, is by you clicking on ads. But we don't want to look at the ads. We want to scroll down and look at what's called the organic results. So let's see right here. caring is #1.com, dhs.state.il.us. I'll just open up a couple of them really quickly just to show you that we're going to try to see how much content these pages have, because I guarantee these pages have content. If they don't have content, there's not a possible way that they could be ranking on that first page of Google unless it's some random fluke. But let's look at care.com is #1. So here's content. They have a lot of content. It looks like each one of these is essentially in-home care. It's a directory just listing out all the in-home care centers in Illinois. So you can see there's a lot of content in here. There's content for each one. It doesn't have to be 400 words all in one place. So what I do is I would just copy all this content, paste it in like Microsoft Word and see how much content is here. Is it 500 words, 800 words, 1,000 words? Because what we're going to do is we want to write more content than your competition has, because if this is how much content your competitors have, meaning who's on the first page of Google, that's your competition. That's who we want to outrank. Just because you have competitors offline, like if you're a restaurant and there's 10 other restaurants on your block, those are competitors offline, but online it's very different. So when we're looking online, we want to see who's on that first page of Google and see what they're doing. How are they getting these rankings? So here's just care.com or caring.com. That's one of them, but let's keep looking at all these. dhs.state.il.us. Long URL, pretty messy, but here's who's on the first page. They're ranked #2. So you can see they probably have, doesn't look like 500 words. Maybe it's like 300, 400 words. So they only have 300 words. You need to write 400 words. But we really want to get to #1. Caring.com was #1. We'd have to figure out how many they have. It looks like they might have like 600, 800 words possibly. But let's go to Illinois or paying for senior care. This is ranked #3. You can see they have content here. They have a lot of content right here. A lot of content. So this is who's #3. And then #4 on the first page of Google, homecareillinois.net. Looks like here's some content. Why us? Our services. This is all content. Our service areas. So they're mentioning the different places. So this one doesn't have as much content, and they're not ranked at the top. They're ranked like #4. But this kind of gives you an idea of how much content you need to write to be able to outrank your competition. Because the more content you have, the more information Google is going to be able to read and decipher and figure out what your page is about and give you those rankings. Because without that content, Google gets lost, unfortunately. You really need to spoon feed Google as much information as possible for them to really understand what your website is about. So that kind of hopefully helps out with content and what Google's looking for in terms of reading your website. They're just reading all this content, trying to decipher, figure out what it means. They take it, throw it into their algorithm, which is kept top secret. Nobody really knows how their algorithm works, and then they figure out how to rank you. But initially, they're going to just read your website and try to read all that content, trying to, again, decipher what your page is about. So don't hold back when you're writing content. More content is always going to be better. Just make sure you have just have good quality content that's related to what people would be searching for. So that's kind of how Google works, or any search engine. That's really what they're looking for nowadays, is just trying to read that content and figure out what your page is about. And then, like I was saying, they have that algorithm, which is kept top secret. Nobody really knows how it works, but they take all that information and throw it into their algorithm. So here's an example. Here's Target.com's website. This is what we see. This is the coding to Target.com, and this is what Google sees. So you can see it's not the same. It's very different. So it is where you just have to figure out, or you just have to see that Google can't really read a website normally. They're trying to just look at your coding to decipher it, to try to figure out what this page is about, and then give you those rankings. And then Google throws it in their algorithm, which is kept top secret. Nobody knows how it works because it changes daily. Even if you did know how it works, tomorrow the algorithm is going to change. So anyone that tells you they know how Google's algorithm works, maybe they know how it works today, but tomorrow it's going to change, and that information is not going to be good anymore. So, and plus Google keeps that top secret. Nobody really knows how it works. There's people in different departments that work on the algorithm that don't ever meet, don't talk to one another. So they don't really know. People know bits and pieces of the algorithm, but nobody truly knows how it works. And it changes daily. And there's over 200 ranking factors that go into this algorithm. So it's pretty tricky to try to even guess at it. But that's not really what we care about. We don't really care how this algorithm works. We just want to figure out how much SEO your competition's done. That's really what we're looking for, because if we try to figure out how the algorithm works, tomorrow it's going to change. And then all that work we've done is really for nothing. So don't try to beat Google's algorithm. Try to beat your competition, the competitors on that first page of Google. That's really who, or all we care about is who are these competitors? What have they done? And how can we do more SEO than they have done to get ranking higher than they are? So yeah, again, there's a lot of ranking signals that go into this algorithm. And every few months, they'll do a big update. Like every few months, they'll have a big update that they'll go and make significant changes to the algorithm that affects a lot of searches. And essentially, these algorithm updates are looking to penalize websites. So if you're doing the wrong type of SEO and Google catches you, they're actually going to penalize you, meaning you're going to drop down in rankings. Instead of ranking higher in Google, now Google sees that you're trying to trick them and be deceptive. They're going to drop you down and lower those rankings because they don't want people tricking Google. They want to have the best search results. They don't want you to trick Google's out, or be able to manipulate your website to trick the algorithm into ranking you, and then come to find out that you're really not the best result. So Google is constantly changing because people find loopholes in the algorithm all the time and ways to trick it and game the system. And then Google has to patch that up and fix it. So you might find short-lived tricks, but once Google finds out about that trick and they see that you're doing it, they're going to penalize you for doing that. And that means you're going to drop down in rankings. Worst case scenario is you get kicked off Google permanently, which I have not really seen happen, but I have seen a lot of people get penalized where they drop down in rankings and lose traffic, where you might lose 50% of your traffic coming from Google or more. And it's tough to get out of these algorithm updates or algorithm penalties. If you get hit with these penalties, getting out of these penalties takes a lot of time because Google doesn't want you to be, or doesn't want you to get unpenalized. They see that you're trying to trick them. They don't trust you anymore. And they want you to now spend money on ads. Essentially, that's the only way to get that traction back is now you spend money on ads, people are going to start finding you again. But other than that, Google is happy to penalize you. That way you start spending money and their revenue starts going up, because that's really how Google makes all their money, is with ads. The more you spend on ads, the more money Google makes, the happier Google is. They don't really want you to do an SEO. SEO takes away from their ad revenue because now they're not making money off of ads. You're ranking up there organically, and you're paying someone like myself, or you're investing your own time to learn SEO, and then you don't have to pay Google. You just have to pay yourself, or use your own time, which time is money, or pay someone like myself or another SEO company to help you with some of this stuff. But just be wary. The only time you would ever really see that you've been penalized is if you look in Google Analytics or whatever tool that you're tracking your traffic with. You see a giant or a drop in traffic in one day, and then you kind of piece it together and figure out what day the traffic started dropping, and then try to see, did Google have an update on that date? What was that update? What were they looking for? And how can I get myself out of this algorithm update? So unfortunately, the only other way that they might tell you is in Google Search Console. So Google Search Console is a free tool from Google. So there's Google Analytics, which shows you everything about your traffic, where your traffic is coming from, what pages they visit, what pages they leave from. And then there's Google Search Console, which shows you everything about your website in regards to SEO, how it's performing, what keywords you're ranking for, if there's any errors on your page, if it loads slowly. It's going to tell you a lot of technical stuff. So Google Search Console also has this little section that says manual actions and messages, and that's where they might message you. Doesn't guarantee it. So if you've been penalized, it doesn't always guarantee that they're going to send you a message in Google Search Console, but sometimes they will. So it's tough with these penalties. The only true way to look or to see is in Google Analytics. You just see a giant drop in traffic. That's really the best way to go about it. Hopefully no one has to deal with that, but that is the main way, is look in Google Analytics. That's going to be the true traffic. You don't want to be using these third-party tools like WordPress Analytics and Shopify gives you analytics and Facebook gives you analytics. That's not the true story of what's going on. They give you what they want to show you. They're not going to try to show you the full story. Google Analytics tells you everything and more, because Google knows you only have one choice to go with Google. So if Google tells you the information and you don't like it, that just means you have to adjust your strategy and try to figure out how to appease Google, because Google does bring in the majority of the traffic nowadays. When I look in analytics, Google brings in like 20 to 80% of your traffic. Bing will bring about 1%. Yahoo will probably bring about 1%. And the rest will come from like social media or email marketing or paid ads or wherever else you're getting traffic from. But majority of the traffic does come from Google. If you get on Google's bad side, it's tough to get out of it. So Google had a few updates over the years that I want to kind of point out. This panda, penguin, and hummingbird one. These were released in 2011 and 2013, but they're still being updated to this day. So you can see this one, or this image says March 14th, 2013, Panda refresh, the 25th refresh of the Panda algorithm update. So Panda, I'm not sure why Google went after animal names, but Google went after Panda, penguin, and hummingbird as some that are more important that I want to kind of call out. So Panda is really for content. Google's looking at the quality of your content, meaning, because again, Google knows content is the most important thing for SEO. So if you have low quality content, more specifically duplicate content, Google's going to penalize you from that algorithm update. So Google sees that you have an article published, like let's say I have an article published on my own website, and then everyone else takes that article and publishes it on their own website, that becomes duplicate content. Google doesn't want the same content published in the search results. Like let's say you're getting, like imagine you're locked out of your car, or you're trying to change your oil for your car. You search on Google, how to change my oil for 2020 Toyota Prius, and the same 10 articles show up on that first page of Google. That does not help you out. You want different points of view, different perspectives. So having the same content on every single, or having duplicate content, Google is not like that. So whoever publishes the content first gets all the credit. If I write an article, publish it on my own website, and then everyone else copies it and publishes it on their own website, I'm going to get all the credit. I'm going to rank for it, and everyone else is potentially going to get hit with a penalty. So Panda really is going after content. Penguin was going after backlinks. Backlinks are clickable links from other websites that point to your website. So the more backlinks you have, the higher up you're going to rank in Google. Backlinks, there's a lot of ways to trick Google and build these backlinks, and I have whole classes on these backlinks. So I don't want to spend too much time on it because it will take up a whole hour to really go in depth about backlinks, quality of backlinks. But if you want to learn more about that, I do these classes all the time. So reach out to me after this and we could talk about that. But Penguin was going after backlinks, and Hummingbird, this one is going after, well, this was back in 2013. Google realized that mobile devices are taking over, and more people are going to be using mobile devices, and it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So Google realized that back in 2013 that mobile is so important. And when you have mobile devices, you don't have to type into your computer like you normally do your searches. If you have a mobile device, you could just speak into it and you could talk. And now, instead of searching, like when you search, if you're searching for like Italian restaurant, you might go into your computer and type in Italian restaurants near me. But if you have your cell phone, now you can just speak into it and say, where can I find an Italian restaurant near me? It's a whole different search now. It's where can I find, and then it has Italian restaurant near me. But it's adding phrases, prepositions. It's called the semantic web. Google is trying to understand the human language. Is artificial intelligence, essentially. This is back in 2013. We're in 2020 right now. Google is still not there yet. They are not at this Hummingbird algorithm update. I mean, they're working on it, but they're still building it out. So this one is really where I see websites nowadays that don't even have keywords on them, and they're ranking for keywords I'm searching for. This is a rarity. It's not the norm, but this is going to be the future where everything is going to shift to mobile and people could do voice searches, and it's going to change everything up where it's not necessarily ranking keywords, but looking at your intent, your geolocation, looking at a whole variable or a whole variety of other factors that Google already is kind of doing to an extent, but it's going to be much more in depth or much more targeted in the future. Google is still pretty far off from it, so I wouldn't worry too much about the Hummingbird, but the Panda and the Penguin one, 100% are important to make sure you have good quality content and you build good quality backlinks, because if you have low quality content and low quality backlinks, it's going to do more harm than good. So you got to be careful with that stuff, making sure that you build the right type of content, putting out the right type of backlinks that is going to get you the rankings that you want to achieve. And this is what I do for myself and my clients, is making sure that we abide by Google's algorithm updates and make sure that we're not doing anything to potentially jeopardize your reputation and get you penalized from Google, because that's the last thing we'd want to do, because getting out of these penalties is really tough. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's usually not guaranteed that you're going to get out of these penalties. So just be wary. You don't want to get stuck or get hit with one of these algorithm updates that search engines put out there. And so if you want access, so that is all for today. Well, I see a bunch of questions popping up, so I'll get to everyone's questions in a minute. So if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. But if you want access to 60 of my favorite SEO and social media tools that are free tools that I use on a pretty much weekly basis, if you text the number 313131, the word SEO, I'll send everyone a copy of those, of my favorite tools. If you're international, maybe you want to reach out to me, or you can email me if it doesn't work. But if you want to text the number 313131, the word SEO, I'll send that out to everybody. And I do SEO full time. That is my main job. So if you do have a website and you want me to check it out from an SEO point of view and let you know what's working, what's not working, if you want to go to SEOoptimizers.com/free, happy to give you a free analysis of your website and let you know what's working, what's not working in regards to search engine optimization, and how we could get you more traffic and get you those rankings on Google. So if you go to SEOoptimizers.com/free and check that out. And if you want to learn more about all this stuff, I do have full day classes that go in depth about SEO and social media, where I go and talk about different ways and strategies I use to get more traffic from Google, how to grow your own social media accounts to tens of thousands of followers, which is what I've done for myself without ever spending money on ads for social media. And ultimately, really how to make sure that traffic converts into sales, leads, phone calls, whatever your conversion goal is, making sure that works, because traffic is great, followers are great on social media, but that's not a means to an end. We need to make sure that the traffic and the followers convert into whatever it may be that you're trying to promote. That's really important. I keep these to 10 or less people, so it's more kind of one-on-one, personalized, hands-on, and I could show you real life examples on your websites and go in depth. Right now, we have a big class. There's about 50 people in here, so it's tough to show everyone, but if you are trying to learn this, you get a certification. If you're trying to transfer jobs, if you go to SEOoptimizers.com/learn, you get more information about that. But I see a bunch of questions coming in, so let me jump to these questions and see what's going on. And so I see Raul is asking, does that mean a landing page can be as equally effective as a dynamic website? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but a landing page is a page on your website that you want to optimize, and dynamic websites will have different pages that you want to optimize. So the more pages you have, the more opportunities you have to rank for keywords. I'm not sure if that was your question, Raul. If you want to maybe elaborate, that way I can make sure I'm giving you the right answer. And Anna is asking, is it true that we should put a dash in between words like caregiving dash mother? And if that's how people write it out, yeah, if people put caregiving dash mother, that's how I write it. But if people just put caregiving space mother, that's how I'd write it out. That's where you have to do keyword research, which is something that I go over in that full day class on November 7th is the next one. It's normally $199, but right now I can't rent out a room, and I usually do them in person, and renting out a room costs about $1,000 for a day. So I'm able to pass that savings on to everyone else, and now the classes are only $99 instead of $199 for the full day class about SEO and social media marketing. So I see Robin is asking, if I'm a fine artist, so my site is more images and content, then you need to put more content below the images of your art describing what the art is, because Google can't read your images. They can only read the file name and the alt tag. Other than that, they can't read anything else. So you need to put more content to help them decipher and figure out what your art is about. And again, throw that content at the very bottom of your website. We don't want to throw it at the top to make it cluttered. We want to throw it at the very bottom so most people don't see it. And so images, that alt tag, and the file name are really important to optimize those and put keywords in them, or descriptive words. Don't put keywords. Describe what that image is about in the file name, and then copy that, whatever the description is, into the alt tag. And let's see, will Google rank higher, more and more quality content added to a page? And yeah, the more quality content that's original, the higher you're going to rank in Google. The more content, the more Google could read, and the better off you're going to be. But again, just look at how much content your competition has, and that's going to show you how much you need to put to outrank them. And I see Julie's saying, if I put the same content on every page, you're going to get penalized, and Google is going to drop you down. You have to put unique content on every page on your website. If you're putting the same content on each page on your website, you're going to get penalized, and Google's not going to rank you. And also you're going to cannibalize yourself, because now you're competing against all 5 pages have the same content. You're competing against yourself for those same keywords. Now you're just cannibalizing your results, and you're only getting 1/5 of that SEO value. And Brianna, I have blocks of content, then a hot link that says more to keep reading. Is that bad? And as long as the content is on that page, that's fine. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how you have that content. As long as you're not hiding it, something, that's all Google cares about. Liz, I can't see Google Search Console. Is that international? Google Search Console is for everyone. So you just go to Google Search Console. And I think Lauren put the link in right below it. So thanks for helping out, Lauren. But yeah, Google Search Console is an amazing tool that helps out so much. Brianna, can you give an example of words that get the website penalized? And repeating the same content from one page to another, that's going to get you penalized. It's not words, it's duplicate content. That's going to get you penalized. So you can write whatever you want. Google's not going to penalize you. You have freedom of speech. But if you repeat yourself on every single page, Google's like, we don't want to show the same 10 articles about how to fix a flat tire. That doesn't help out people that have a flat tire. We need to give different points of view, different perspectives. Because if you go on Google and you search and the same 10 articles show up on that first page of Google, you're going on Bing or Yahoo or DuckDuckGo or another search engine, because that's a bad user experience. And how does Google know what quality content is? Google has their Hummingbird algorithm update, and that's how they're able to decipher what quality content is by understanding the human language. And quality really just means original for the most part, and making sure that you can read it. It's not just a bunch of gibberish, but it actually makes sense. It's helpful, it's beneficial, it's good for users and readers. Liz, is it better to write one page with a lot of content or separate it into multiple pages and build those multiple pages up? So you want to put one page with a lot of content and then do that and replicate that, because on my website, I have about 15 pages that all have over 1,000 words of content on each page for all my services. So any service that you offer, like I do SEO, I offer services for doing content creation. That's one of my services. I have another service for Google Analytics tracking. I have another service for link building. Each one of those pages, each one of those services is a unique page with 400 words or more of content. The more content, the more you're going to be able to rank. If you write 1,000 words, even better. So if you're an e-commerce website, you don't have to do all the product pages, but you want to do like the categories, or if you're on Shopify, it's called collections, your home page. Those are the pages you want to optimize. You don't have to worry about the about us page, the contact us page. Those pages don't matter. You want any page that you want to rank in Google, that's where you need to put content. And then maybe you have a top selling product that you want to optimize, throw content on it. But other than that, you don't need to do individual pages. Just focus on homepage, the categories or services. And those are the main ones I work on optimizing. And so not sure if anyone has any other questions, or if I missed anyone, or Raul, if you want to elaborate on that one, if I didn't get to it. But I would recommend checking out that class if you are trying to learn more about SEO, or if you want me to do that free website analysis. If you have a website, you want me to check it out, that's also something that would be beneficial. Other than that, if you want to email me, if you've ever, or if you come up with some questions that you think of and you want to reach out to me, my email is Brandon. I'll put it in the chat, Brandon@SEOoptimizers.com. So if you want to email me any questions that you might pop up or think of, let me know. And Brianna, I thought I heard you say that Google doesn't like if you are using keywords that are deceptive. Can you elaborate? That was for trying to hide the text. So if you hide all the text and font size 0.001 and match it in the same color of your website, that's going to get you hit with a penalty. So just don't hide it. And Raul, is my class November live or webinars? No, all these classes are live. Nothing, I mean, it's can't do them in person. I have to do it on Zoom, but it's still live in person online, unfortunately, with everything that's going on. Can't do them in person. There's no spaces I could even rent out. Even if I tried to, that would let me rent out a hotel room for 10 people. So unfortunately, everything is online for now, and hopefully things change in the future. But I do send out a video recording of that class. So if you go to the class on November 7th, I send out a video recording and the PowerPoint slides at the end, so you could work it at your own pace, because 11 to 4 is a long day. But that's where I tell you everything that I know that works for me, that I use for my own clients, and that I would use for you if you paid me to do your SEO. But instead of doing that, if you want to just learn it yourself, which is going to be more cost effective, that's going to be what you get out of that class. And after, will I do another webinar like this again? Yep, I do these every Wednesday. So I'll send everyone a link to the next week's class after this class. So yeah, I do them every Wednesday, these free webinars. But if you're really trying to learn in depth, that's where the full day class, smaller, more personalized, and it's $99 for that class. Yep, bro. And I'll put it in the chat, the link to it. So if you want to check it out, it's SEOoptimizers.com/learn for that class. And that one is November 7th. I just did one last weekend and got a lot of positive responses out of it. A lot of people see the benefits. One person even told me that after a few days that they've already jumped up to that first page of Google. And I was just like, wow, that is fast. Usually SEO takes some time, but every website is different. And if you do the right things that Google's looking for, Google's going to reward you with higher rankings, and higher rankings in Google means more traffic from Google. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. And then once you get that traffic, let's optimize your website to make sure that that traffic converts, which is essentially making sure that it's funneled through your sales or through your website to the right places. That's going to get people to convert, give you your phone number, your email address, whatever it may be. And yep, if you want, I think Alex asking for my Twitter. If you go to like SEO Optimizers, you can find my Twitter or my Yahoo or my Facebook. They're all at SEO Optimizers. Or do have a personal Twitter that I've been working on at Brandon Leibs. Couldn't get my full name, so I had to get the abbreviated version of it. So I'll put that in the chat too if you want to check that out. At Brandon Leibs, and then Brandon or SEO Optimizers, and you stay up to date with all that stuff. And I see what Nima does. A 1,000-word page rank higher than a 1,000-word blog? A blog is a page. There's no difference. Google doesn't care what a page is or a blog is. A page is a page. Google doesn't look to see it's a blog post and then not give you rankings for that, because Google likes content. Google rewards you for blogging, so it's not going to do any harm. And oh, Ray, if you want to text the number 313131, the word SEO, then you get the 60 tools and all that information. So if you text the number 313131, the word SEO, you'll get all that information. And yeah, hopefully I got to everyone's questions. And Raul, yeah, blog is very important, because after you write content on your website, you run out of content to write. You can only write so much about your products and services. So blog helps out. And does Google like videos? Google owns YouTube, so I would think Google likes videos, but doesn't help out for SEO. It's not going to do any good. Yeah, Google doesn't care. Google can't really read videos. They like it for YouTube, but for SEO, YouTube doesn't really do much for you. But hopefully this was helpful for everyone. I appreciate everyone for coming out, and thanks everyone for bearing with me, even though I had some technical difficulties. Got to figure out what's going on, why my camera's not working, and why I got cut off earlier. But appreciate everyone for sticking through, and hopefully this is helpful, and I will hopefully see everyone in the future. So have a great rest of your day, stay safe, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much everyone for coming out.